All right, welcome everybody. This is Civil Chat. I'm Brian, and over there is Brian as well. And today we are going to do Civil Chat. So if you've not been to Civil Chat before, this is just a couple of guys sitting around answering questions as best we can.
Well, let's rephrase that.
Preferably
It's
about Civil 3D.
one guy answering questions, the other guy just reading the
Yeah.
questions.
Usually we have another Brian, but apparently he had a doctor's appointment, and apparently his personal health is more important than Civil Chat. So he's not joining us today, but typically we have another Brian here as well. So like I said, if you've not been here before, this is just a couple of folks sitting around answering questions that y'all ask. So if you don't ask questions, we don't have much of a show.
And if you guys
So
are
make sure
going
you
to
ask
ask,
questions.
and if you are going to ask those questions, please make sure to put those questions in the Q&A pod and not the chat.
Yes.
Otherwise, chat is for heckling, correcting Brian when he's wrong with his answers, etc. But do put the questions in the
No,
Q&A pod.
never wrong. Never wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah. So make sure you put in your questions. Civil 3D primarily. We can also dabble in some InfraWorks, some storm and sanitary analysis, some other Autodesk, infrastructure type programs, vehicle tracking, recap, those types of things. So if you want to ask questions about any of that stuff, feel free. And I usually like to start getting the topic going by showing off something. Let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick.
And this is the
Remember to
part
do
of the
that as
show where we
well.
say this is buying time for you guys to type because we know not
Right.
all civil engineers can type quickly. So this is Brian's time buying you to type your questions out. So we actually have something to, put on the show
Exactly.
later.
So in the last few weeks, I've been working on developing the quantity takeoff tools. Oh, I've been working on putting together a pressure network catalog and a parts list for us. So actually, let me open up a different drawing here real quick. So if I come over here to my pressure network parts list, so I'm in the process of developing a couple parts lists for our pressure network system. And in doing so, I decided I wanted to create some pay item lists. Sweet, love pay items. And these are going to make things so much easier because, we have some projects where we actually have to do a bill of materials on each sheet for our water lines. And this is going to be super helpful. And so I got into this and I was really lost. Now, the pay item file is simple. So if we come into, if you're not familiar with this, if you go up to Analyze tab up on the ribbon, and then go into the QTO manager, this is where you can go in and load in your pay item files and your categorization files. So if I come over here, I can open up a pay item file. I'm just doing a CSV file. I have no idea what an AASHTO transxml or Florida DOT file is. I'm just using a CSV because it's super simple. And then you can open up your pay item file. And then you can also open up your categorization file. All right, and so we've got this in here, and this is just a start. So if anybody actually has any suggestions on a better way of organizing this, I would love to hear it. I haven't pushed this out to our folks yet, but this is something that I'm working on. All right, and so I've got it broken out. So this is based off of the division something or another that we've got on our website. So it's all the 33,000, utilities. 3310 zeros are water utilities. 3314s are I can't see that, transmission and distribution. And then 1411 is your transmission piping. And then 1419 are your valves and hydrants. So if I come under here, I'm just doing this as a generic material. So the parts list that I'm creating doesn't have a material assigned to it. So this can be used for anything. And you can just say, oh, it's PVC. Oh, it's ductile iron. Oh, it's HDPE. And then we have pipes, elbows, et cetera, et cetera. And then, for example, here are all the pipes. So setting this up is really, really easy. So if I go open up the pay item file again, and I find that CSV file, I'm just going to right click on it, and I'm going to choose open. And this will open up in Excel because it's a CSV file. And you can see a pay item file is simply 3 columns. That's all there is to it, right? So the first one is your pay item. The second one is the description. The third column is the unit. And that's all there is to a pay item file. If you open up some of the sample pay item files that come with Civil 3D, you'll see a whole bunch of other columns in there. Civil 3D doesn't use those. Most likely those files came from some other quantity takeoff tool, program, whatever, and it uses those, but we don't use them here in Civil 3D. So as you can see, the first column is the pay item. And if we come back over here, you can see that's what's listed over here on the left-hand side. The item description is then what's displayed over here on the right-hand side. And that's really all there is to it. It's really, really simple, right? But then you get the categorization file. So if I disable the categorization file, turn it off, you can see it's just a list of items here. And it can be difficult to find what you need, right? Especially if you've got good documentation on where things will be based off of their pay item ID. And so you can load up this categorization file. Oops, wrong button. So I'm just turning on the categorization file. So now you can see it's listed. They're all grouped together. Really, really handy. So there's all my T's grouped together under T's, and they're, it's really beautiful. Now, when I was setting this up, I was really struggling with the pay item categorization file. And that's what I want to talk about here real quick. And maybe it won't be too quick because we don't have a whole lot of questions yet. Y'all are slacking. All right, so let me open up the categorization file. So I'm just going to come back up here, open the pay item file. And I've got one here called Civil Chat. We'll just go ahead and open this up. It's an XML file, so it'll open up in whatever your, oh, I shouldn't have double clicked it. Should have right clicked on it, chose open. All right, so this will open up in whatever your default XML editor is. So I've got Microsoft XML Notepad or something like that. I think that's what this is called. All right. And so there's a couple of things that I struggled with. First is this tree. This tree was getting really long and just convoluted. And so what you'll see is all of these have a type, a start, an end, a title, and a description. Okay, so if we look at this, let me shift this over here. All right, so you can see that the very first one is utilities. So we have, and it has a value of 330000. And you can see that listed over here. Let me go ahead and cancel out of this. All right, and so you can see that listed here. Now, this has a closing bracket, so to speak. And so actually, you don't have to worry. If you're in this editor, you don't have to really worry about that a whole lot. And again, this is something that's really new to me. So if I'm stumbling along this, it's because you guys haven't asked any questions. But what you'll notice is the start and the end value for this is blank. Right? And then we come down to the next one, and there's no pay items under 3314. And so that's why the start here is blank as well. Well, here's 3314, right? And we don't get anything until we get down into the pipes. All right, so here I have pipes, and you'll notice we have a start value here. Now, when I was doing this, I was under the impression that this was like a number, right? We're starting at this number, and anything bigger than this number up to the next one is going to be in this category. So anything that starts at 33, 14, 11, 10, 10 or bigger is then going to be in this. And so what I was doing, so if you can see, come over here to pipes, you can see the actual pay item number is 33, 14, 11, 10, 10, 001 for a 2-inch pipe, and 002 for a 3-inch pipe. So I was putting the whole pay item number in here, and that's not right. Okay.
Okay,
need
I
to
will be
get
getting
rid
this
of
for,
Peter.
yeah, this is the third time I've had to eject somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not called for.
Yep. Third person I've had to kick off. Got someone coming in just trying to.
Okay, so that's a first for Civil Chat. I don't think we've ever had to kick anybody out before, have we?
No, it's the first time I've had to do it in Civil Chat.
All right, brand new year. Sweet, you guys are people are wonderful. All right. So, but this is not a number that we're starting at. You can think of this like a description key set. So this is the prefix value for the pay items that are pipes. So all of my pipes start with 33, 14, 11, 10, 10. And so that's why I have that value here. And then anything that starts with that is then included in this list. All right. So hopefully that helps. But there was one other thing that I had struggling with. And it's after I learned this, it still wasn't working. And so I had to go to the internet and figure out what was going on. And I found a blog post by Cindy Davenport. If y'all don't know Cindy Davenport, she is a fantastically knowledgeable person in the realm of Civil 3D. I'm not sure what she's doing now. I haven't heard from her in quite a while, but this was a blog post that she did. Here, I'll put this in the chat for anybody that's interested. All right. And in here, this is what I was missing. So if I bring up this again, let's pull this over to this side. All right. So this up here under the pay item ID location, there's a start and an end. And what you need to do is you need to set this end to be the value of whatever these values are going to be for your start. All right, so you can see this is set to 15, and this is 15 digits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I probably could have done 14. All right. But if I set this to 5, so I'm just going to make a change here, and we'll go ahead and save this. Just making a change, and then we'll reload that. What you'll notice, did I load the wrong one? Might have loaded. Oh, that should have changed. These are all still working. Why are these all still working? Oh yeah, yep, they're not working now, right? So you can see it's not working, and the reason it wasn't working for me is because that one little value that's not mentioned anywhere in any of the help files, as far as I could tell. But thanks to Cindy, I was able to get this to work. So if I come back into my XML file here, go ahead and open that. And I'll change that back to 15. And then all my categorizations are not working. Are they not working? Measure network pay items. Of course it's not going to work. It's still a chat. Let me use this one. This is the one I'm actually using. There we go. They're not working. Why are they not working? I don't have any pay. Oh, that's why it's not working. So if you're ever working in here and your pay items don't get loaded up, the reason they're not being loaded up is because you've got the CSV file open. So if I go ahead and close out of the CSV file, and then we'll go ahead and open up that one again. Civil chat. Now you can see I've got them. And if I turn the categorization on, then the categorizations are now working. So all right, let's get rid of them again. Okay. So hopefully that helps folks out if you're using quantity takeoff stuff. And we'll go ahead and move on to our questions.
So you had a couple of comments come up. Sid did say that the New Mexico DOT has decent files for the QTO manager that you can use, for example.
Yeah, one thing that was brought up to me as well is that the Florida state kit, so the FDOT state kit, which I can actually launch here. Get rid of all this. So I just installed it to play around with it. So if you're working in Florida for the DOT down there, that you're probably already using this, but they have a completely different quantity takeoff way of doing things. All right, as soon as this comes up, probably should have had this up and running beforehand, but oh well. All right, come on, hurry up. All right, so if you come up to the F dot tab up on the ribbon, there is an entity manager. And in this entity manager, there's ways of doing QTO type stuff. So it's there as an option if you want to use it. I don't know if we're going to use it or not. I haven't looked into it well enough. So, but it opens up this, and it looks like it has a lot more options than what's available in the Civil 3D QTO. It'd be really nice if Civil 3D incorporated this, but I don't know if this would work with a pipe parts list or exactly how it works. So.
Well, we are still lacking in questions. So Greg had a question. He actually typed this before you, right as you were starting to show this. It was like mutual thing here. He said he took the bait and went down the rabbit hole that you posted in the Civil 3D forum about QTO unit Aero Day. And he has a link. I'll respond to this. Can you describe some basic or easy ways do you use QTO? I
Okay.
assume you did that. And then it says basic meaning simple non-civil items like polylines for linear feet or square feet, etc.
Perfect. So just so everybody's aware about this unit Aero Day. So there is a unit file that comes with Civil 3D, right? So if you go to, let's see, C drive, program data, Autodesk, Civil 3D, whatever version you're using, ENU, data, pay item data, units. All right. There's this QTO units.xml. And so I was looking at, in this process, I was looking at all this. And let's open it up with just like nope. We use Notepad++. All right, so I was looking at all the different units, and most of these make sense, right? There's an each, there's a ST, which I'm not sure what that is, but there's a GM, which is a gross mile, there's an M1, which is a meter. And then I found an Aero Day. And I have absolutely no clue what an Aero Day is. And so I posted it up on the forum, and that's what Greg is referring to is my post up on the forums about the Aero Day unit. So if anybody knows what an Aero Day is, I would really be interested. There's also a board day, a drum day, a sign day, a ton day. So I don't know what these are. So I did a Google search and my Google foo let me down. So.
Was that the second part of his question where he said basic meaning simple non-civil
Yep.
items? Got it.
Yep. So I just wanted to show that off because I'm curious. Does anybody know? But let me switch back over to my Civil 3D here. So basically, I'm going to draw a polyline in here, insert a block, UI symbols. I don't know. We'll just use a boring block. All right, and then, I don't know, rectangle. All right, so these are some things that I need to count, right? I might have several thousand, several hundred, who knows how many of these things in here, right? And so I want to assign pay items to them. So I'm going to come up here to the Analyze tab up on the ribbon, QTO Manager, and I need to load in a pay item file. And actually, let me do this in a new drawing. I just did a copy paste from the old drawing. There we go. My block come through? I think my block came through. There it is. Okay. All right. So come up here to the QTO Manager, and you need to load up a pay item file. So I just come over here, choose Open Pay Item File. There's three options. I'm just going to stick with CSV, and I'm going to use the stuff that comes with Civil 3D rather than the GEI stuff here. So under this data folder, which is where it's going to default to, you have a pay item data folder. And then there's a getting started folder. So that's the file that I'm going to use. So there's this getting started.csv. So I'm going to go ahead and open that real quick just so we can see it. And this was what I was talking about earlier, all those unnecessary columns. So again, the only columns you need to worry about are those first three. All of these other ones are just leftover junk. So you don't have to worry about those. And then I'm also going to open up a custom categorization file. So I'm going to go to that same location, pay item data, getting started, and there's the getting started categorization. So don't worry about the tutorials. That was me playing around. You probably won't have those. And here it is. So we got, 9 divisions or so, right? If I expand one out, we get all these groups and sections and everything. And then the unit type over here on the outside is also important as well. So I can assign these things to different. So you can also filter a pay item up top here. So for example, if I'm looking for culverts, I can do a search for culverts, but then the categorization just gets in the way because I don't know where my culverts are. So that's why it's sometimes helpful to turn off the categorization. All right, and here's all my culverts. So I'm going to use a, those are head walls. They're actually called culverts in here. There we go. I'm going to use a 90-inch culvert. So that's what that line in the drawing represents. So this is a 90-inch culvert. So I'm going to go to my pay item file, and I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to assign the pay item, and then I simply select the line. And that line now has that pay item assigned to it. All right, so there's 3 different things that you can assign a pay item to. You can assign it to a linear object, a point object, or an area object, which is why I put those 3 objects in there, right? So maybe I have a, I don't know, manhole. All right. So I have a manhole. It has a unit type of each, which is a counting one. So I'll right click on there. I will assign pay item to my block. And then I can also do, like, so for example, pavement. I'm going to do square yards. So I need to remove some sidewalk here. And again, I'm going to assign a pay item, but I'm not going to assign it to the polyline. I'm going to assign the pay item to an area. Right? And then this is like a hatch. You just pick a point inside of it and actually creates a hatch and assigns the pay item to that hatch. So I suppose if you already had a hatch, you could just assign the pay item directly to the hatch, I think. But I've never actually done that before. All right. So once you've assigned pay items, you can then do a takeoff. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do a takeoff. This is really appropriate because I just watched Strange Brew on New Year's Eve with my family. If you've never watched Strange Brew, then you probably don't get the takeoff comment. All right, but I'm going to do I'm going to do a summary report. I'm going to do it for the entire drawing, and I'm just going to leave all of this, everything else. I'll just go ahead and click on compute, and I'll bring up the little report, and there it is. So here you've got all of your data, makes total sense, and you're, okay, this is really hard to understand. Fortunately, we have different options down here. The one that I think formats the best, at least in my experience, just for looking at it, is HTML. So if I change this to HTML, you can see there we have it. Removal of pay asset. We have 10,000 square yards. We have 764 linear feet of pipe, and we have a single manhole. Now this has the pay item assigned to it. So if I take this block and I copy it, the copies will also have the pay items assigned to them. All right, so if I do my takeoff now, oh, I did the detailed one. I want to do the detailed one. I want to do the summary. All right, you can see now we have 6 manholes. So as you make changes to your model, you just run the takeoff command again, and it'll give you the latest and the greatest. Now you can also do things like formulas. So perhaps on this, maybe this is a sanitary sewer pipe, and every 100 feet, you need to make sure that you have a cutoff wall. And so you can put formulas in here as well. So if I go back into the QTO manager, which I already have up, right? That's what the formula column is. So I can say, right, I can come in here and I can add formulas that say, hey, for, I want it for the cutoff walls, I want to take the length of the pipe, divide it by 100, and then that would be the number of cutoff walls that I need. And you might be able to do like a floor or a ceiling as well. I'm not exactly sure, but you do need a formula file. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this formula file. And now I can put in formulas. Right? See what we got as far as functions go. Do we have a floor? Probably. Yeah, there's your floor. There's your ceiling. Basically, a floor rounds down, a ceiling will round up. So I could say, hey, I want to get the item length divided by 100. And of that, I want to take the floor. All right, so that will give, so if it's less than 100 feet, I don't need one. So it's gonna, you know, if it was 90 feet, then the answer is 0.9. It's going to take the floor, take it down to 0. Yeah, if it's 101, then you're going to have 1.01. It's going to take a floor and you'll be at 1. So these are also things that you can do with the QTO. So Greg, hopefully that helps. Yeah. So Greg put in the Q&A. It was great. Thank you. I wish you still did training classes. I guess you can kind of think that's what this is. But yeah.
Except for this is on your own time and you don't get paid.
That's true. It's still fun though. I enjoy it. But yeah, as you make changes to all this
Agreed.
stuff.
I'm the
Yeah.
same way.
Right. So where else can we assign pay items? Right. So we can assign pay items, as I was showing before, in parts lists. So under your pipe networks, right? I don't have them set up here yet. That's on my list to do. So you can assign pay items to here. So as you're putting your pipes in the drawing, they automatically get those pay items assigned to them. And then once you're done modeling your pipes, all you have to do is hit that takeoff button, and it tells you how many linear feet of 8-inch sanitary sewer pipe you have, how many manholes you have, how many centric manholes you have versus concentric manholes, right? Same thing for the pressure networks. And then you can also do this in a corridor. So let me open up a drawing that has a corridor in it. Come on. Should not take this long to open. Where's my open dialog box? It's like it's somewhere, but I don't see it. Is it behind one of my chat things? There it is. It's on the other screen behind some chat things. So we'll go grab one of the tutorial files. Oops. Go to the C drive. Program files, Autodesk, AutoCAD 2024, Civil 3D, help, civil tutorials, drawings, and then corridor. So when you're working with a corridor, if you go into the corridor properties, and I think you can do this in a code set style as well. Let's try it. Let's go to a code set style first. So under your settings tab, general, multi-purpose styles, code set styles, go ahead and go into one of these. For your feature lines, which is a point, all right? So a point in a subassembly becomes a line in the drawing, right? So that's a feature line. So when you're going from a subassembly to the drawing, you always add one dimension. So a single dimension is a point, it becomes a 2-dimension, which is a line. A 2-dimension link becomes a 3-dimensional area. A 2-dimensional shape becomes a 3-dimensional, no, I said, you get the idea. So it adds a dimension to it. So as you can see, we have a pay item for points, and that is your feature line. So for example, I need to know the linear feet of curb and gutter. Well, you find your point code that is your curb and gutter and add that pay item to it. And then when you do your QTO, it comes in like that. And those are the only places that I know of outside of just adding them to objects where you can do it. One thing I do want to point out here real quick. Draw a polyline through here. I'm going to insert another block. And copy that around. And when I do my QTO, it's not going to count those things because those don't have pay items to it. But if I go into my QTO manager, one thing that you can do is you can highlight things that have or don't have a pay item. Is it this pull down here? Yeah, highlight objects with pay items. All right, so you can see this line is not highlighted. This one is, and if these blocks were the same size, those would be highlighted. Wow, I messed that up. Let's see. What scale are these added? 40 scale. All right, so we'll set this to a 40 scale. There we go. So you can see those are not highlighted, whereas those are highlighted. You can also highlight items that don't have a, right? So highlight objects without pay items. So that'll tell you things that in your drawing that don't have pay items. So it helps you identify things. And you can add multiple pay items to this object. You can just, for example, I've got a bunch of trees. So I want the tree pay item assigned to all my trees. But some of the trees are in sidewalks and they're going to have that grate covering over the tree. So I can also add the grate pay item to the tree. And then when I do my QTO, that pops up as well. And then see if I turn that off. I can also, is it this one? No. Yeah, I can edit the pay item on a specific object. And then you can continue to add or delete whatever you want for that particular object.
Craig added you can do surface quantity pay items as well.
No. No surface pay items. I need to find my chat. Where'd my chat go?
That one's in the Q&A.
I know, I've lost my Q&A. I had to minimize it to see my stuff, and now it's gone. Q&A, there it is. Okay. No, so yeah, Craig, you can't use the QTO stuff for surfaces, at least not that I'm aware of.
Surface materials, yes.
Oh, for the corridor. Yes. So if I go back into this drawing over here, go back into the, not markers, code set styles. Yeah, so points, you can also do it for links. There's a pay item for links as well. So for example, you might have a link that is pavement. You assign a pay item to that. It'll give you the surface area of your pavement. And then if you want to, you can actually say, hey, this is 6 inches of pavement. And then I can use a formula to then calculate the tonnage that I need for that, or whatever you want to take. So you can take that area, multiply it by the depth, multiply it by the density, and then you get the tons of asphalt that you would need for that. So yes, sorry. But yeah, as far as like surfaces go, like the pin surfaces, the pay items don't work with that. You'd have to use those volume tools for that. So it's not going to give you like cut and fill volumes here. It's just a different way of doing things.
And I assume Craig is arguing with you. So he says, no, you can when you do a cross section surface comparison in the material list.
All right. I think there's a confusion. Let's go ahead and get Craig on the line.
Oh, I know you're not arguing, Craig. I'm just saying.
Craig can. I know. Craig, there's a miscommunication here somewhere. So please, Craig, if you're willing to, I'm not going to put you on. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I know you, so you're on the spot. So go ahead.
It's right there in compute materials on your volume material panel. You can assign pay items there. So when you're calculating a volume surface or through cross sections, it will add that
pay items. Yeah. I did not know that. I'm sure we've got one in here somewhere.
I don't use them, but I know it can do that.
That was got to be under sections, right?
It was either sections or profiles, but sections make more sense to me.
Sections. Let's go here because this one already has sections sampled. So if we go compute materials, I'm excited. I might learn something new. All right, so if we say, for example, select material, map objects with same name, was horrible. They didn't have anything. Top of subbase. Sure, we'll just go top and datum. Okay, so where do I get the pay item list from? Do I have to create a new one?
I thought it was right there.
So you can create your own material list, but as far as I know, it's not connected.
I always thought it was
list.
there. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely wrong.
Yeah, so you can create your own material here. But
I know
as far as I know,
I've
there's
seen
no
it.
connection to the pay item
Yeah.
list.
I know I've seen it there, but yeah, I don't
Yeah,
see
if
it.
you can find it, let me know.
That's where I thought I remembered seeing it. So I'll look and let you know if I do find it. Sorry.
All right. You're busy today, Brian.
Yeah. It's like the 12th time I booted somebody.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to lock this down, and everything online is like, oh, go to the security tab. We don't have a security tab. These posts all must be old.
For anybody that's watching online later, we have somebody that's getting into the chat and saying inappropriate things, using inappropriate usernames. So Brian has been in the background keeping things professional-ish. We're not super professional, but there are some lines that we draw.
Oh, we want to be the ones being unprofessional. We don't want some random person coming in being unprofessional. All righty. So Owen followed up. Have you figured out a way to measure through the fittings?
I figured out a way to measure through the fittings. No. Not with the pipe network takeoff tools, as far as like those go. If you're using pipe networks, I believe the pipes are measured structure to structure, the insertion point of structure to insertion point of structure. With the pressure networks, I believe it takes just the pipe itself. So I don't know of a way to do that. One option might be to assign the pay item to the alignment that you're using for the pipe run. That might work, but that's a little bit more manual. It's not using the parts list to get the pay items assigned. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do that.
Cool. And Max has patiently been waiting. I believe this is a non-QTO question finally. How do we add custom assembly to a tool palette for all users in the company to access?
The same way you add anything to a tool palette that you want all of your users in the company to access. You have to have a common place for that. In our system, I've said this in the past here, so if you've already heard this, I apologize, but we have a CAD support folder up on the C drive that when you launch CAD, it synchronizes to the network. This could also just be on the network, right? And under, where did I put this? Did I put it under common? Yeah, so under common, I have a folder called subassemblies. And this is where I'm putting the subassemblies that I think I'm going to add to our tool palettes. I haven't added them yet, but this is kind of where I'm considering putting these, right? And so if this is in this location, when you add it to a tool palette and then you push that tool palette out to all the users and they have access to this same location, then it should work just fine. Now, there is something new in 2024, something or other that I just heard about. If you go to your subassemblies, so back in the day, like last year, in order to get a subassembly in, you'd have to go to a palette. So here I've got a palette that I'm just playing around with. Right click on the palette name and import your subassemblies. And that will import the PKT file onto the tool palette that you can then insert into your drawing. However, we should now be able to just right click on subassemblies and import to drawing. And this will ask you for where your PKT file is. So we can now skip the tool palette aspect. So you could just put all this stuff up on a common location on your network and just tell people, hey, if you need to use this, import it into your drawing here rather than through the tool palette. So that's another option as well. And like I said, this is just something that I discovered not too terribly long ago. Yeah. So Greg in the chat put in the old CAD 1 was great. I agree. I loved working at CAD 1. CAD 1 was absolutely freaking awesome place to work. I think we had a great team. That's where I met Mr. Mackey here. Met a lot of friends. People I'm still friends with from CAD 1. But we got bought out and we all kind of went our own way. There's still a few folks that the company that bought us out still there. but for the most part, we've all kind of gone off to the winds.
Yeah,
It's
bought
sad.
out, then bought out, then bought out, then bought out, then merged and whatever. So it's like
Yeah,
6
right. Who
companies
knows
ago
who's,
now.
yeah. It's now a part of Gray-Tech if anybody's curious, but
And isn't Gray Tech now part of something else too? Didn't Gray Tech get bought out?
oh, I hadn't heard anything about that.
Oh, I could be thinking of, I don't know. There's so many resellers that are getting merged and bought, and
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would not trade my time in the reseller channel for just about anything. It gave me an amazing knowledge base in the programs that I'm able to use and help people out for things like this. But it's definitely a different place now than it was when I was in.
yep,
With
agreed.
everything being bought up, there's just like a few big companies nowadays. See, there's like Gray-Tech, there's Arcance, I think is what one company went to. I'm not sure. There's I think Imagine It is still just Imagine It. I think they're one of the last holdouts, but they were the big players and before all these buyouts came around. So
Yeah,
yeah,
US CAD got
Jason,
bought out by
yeah, US
Arcance.
CAT is
Yeah,
Arcance. Yeah,
yeah.
that's who I was thinking of, Jason. Thank you. So
Yeah,
yeah,
isn't Arcane, is that the one that's a French company? I don't know. One of them's now mainly a French company who's buying all these people up.
yeah. Yeah, I think Gray-Tech is French.
Is that what the
Or,
one is? I don't know.
yeah, but yeah, who knows?
Okay, so John had a follow-up questions. How do you create a PKT file with your custom assemblies?
That's a great question, and I have no idea. So a PKT file does not contain your assembly. A PKT file is a subassembly, right? So a subassembly gets attached to an assembly. An assembly is a thing that has a bunch of subassemblies attached to it. So it's done through Subassembly Composer. All right, so if I just come down to here and go here and AutoCAD Civil 3D 2024, there is that's not here. All right, let's just do a search for it then. Subassembly Composer 2024. All right, so this is where you can go in and build out a subassembly to make it do what you need it to do. It's amazingly simple once you figure it out. I really enjoy coming into Subassembly Composer because I like to think of it as a puzzle. I need to get this out. How do I do that? This was visual programming before Dynamo, right? So basically I come in here and I drag a point in here and it creates a link and says, okay, how do you want to create this point? Well, I just want this point to be at the insertion point of the subassembly. And then I'm going to drag another point in here. And then what do I want this point to do? Well, I want this one to go delta X and delta Y. All right, so I want to go 5 feet to the right and 10 feet up. And then you can see over here, we get in this little preview and it automatically put a link in there for me. If I don't want the link, I can just uncheck the link and I just get the point. And so then you can build out your subassembly. There's lots of different options that you can do. If this is something people are interested in, we can spend a whole civil chat talking about Subassembly Composer because I really enjoy it. See if I can find one of my a good one here. Let's see, what is this one? I'm not even sure what this one is. Oh yeah, so somebody was trying to do some grading using a corridor, and they had a something over here and something over here, and they said, "Hey, I need to go up at 2% and down at 2%." And I don't know where that high point's going to be between those two. So I created a custom subassembly that did just that. All right, we get these auxiliary links and auxiliary points and slopes and where do they intersect. So that's just that part there. But then assuming they link, there's an auxiliary point here, an auxiliary point there from those points, and that sets the slopes. And then I put in this one, which is a point intersection point, and it says, hey, I want to place a point where AL4, that auxiliary link 4, and auxiliary link 5. So auxiliary just means, hey, I'm going to compute something. I don't actually want to use it in the subassembly. I'm just going to use it to help me calculate other things. Where those two intersect, and then put a couple of links there. Quick, simple, off to the races, and there we go. So I love Subassembly Composer. If you haven't played around with it, go check it out. But then
And-
once you've done this, it's going to save as a PKT file. And then that's what you can then import into Civil 3D.
And Scott says that is your future Civil chat opening talk is Subassembly Composer.
Yep. But for a class on Subassembly Composer. All right, okay, excellent. So we'll do that next month. If next month rolls around and I forget, make sure you give me a kind reminder.
Yeah, I will not remember that next month. So
Right.
And I think you got like 6 people saying yes to that. So, I think, we're getting there.
Perfect. Yeah, like I said, I love Subassembly Composer. It's so much fun. Yeah, and we'll just play around with it and we'll come up with something. If somebody has an idea for a subassembly to use for the class, something not too complex, but something that's difficult to do out of the box Civil 3D, shoot it my way and we'll take a look at it. So yeah, Sid, a roll type curve, that's just doing the geometry. I want things that interact with other things. So thanks for the reminder, John. I appreciate that. John just put in the chat. Reminder, Subassembly
If John
Composer.
was really nice, he'd send you a calendar invite for right before this that just said Subassembly Composer.
Right.
Well, that literally is all the questions we have. I know
Right.
we only have 12 minutes left. That's probably not enough time for Subassembly Composer. So
Yeah. Subassembly Composer is yeah, we'll do that. We'll do I think this will be the first time when we have a topic planned for a Civil chat.
yeah. And so everybody prepare your follow-up questions to Subassembly Composer and have those pre-typed in your meeting invite you're giving yourself right now to remind us. And then you can copy and paste those into the question. And as Simon said, I think everybody's still, in holiday mode or, still hungover, not sure. And that's why we just had so few questions. Either that or you were so entertaining on the QTO that everybody was just so enthralled with that they did not.
Yeah, that's probably totally what it was.
Totally what it was.
But yeah, seriously, if you have a suggestion for a subassembly to use, shoot it my way. If I think it's a decent one to do for Civil Chat, we will do it. If not, I will ignore it and then come up with my own.
I will just say I never received it because, we can say that.
What subassembly? I have no idea what you're talking about.
You sent an email? I don't know what you're talking about.
It was lost in the email. But yeah, I think that would be fun. So, well, we don't have any other questions, so I guess we'll just go ahead and end it a bit early. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a fantastic new year, and we'll see you all next month. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.